I'm making a response video on this love stuff again, but I'm not going to talk about love. Anticantovid has thrown in his 2 cents, and again, it's this straw man 2 cents. He's guilty of the same crime he's pointing fingers at other people for in terms of manipulating and playing with words. So this time he's compared to love to concepts like terror and fear, empathy, horror, which it has nothing to do with in the sense that it is those words have so much more explicitivity. The reactions of the human beings are consistent from human being to human being, very little irregularity, where this idea of love is just bullshit. So this is again another conversation I keep having with the human race about how vocabulary is crap, and there are a lot of these words where we shouldn't even be using them. Okay, spontaneous, random, we can go down a list, lots of words that really don't have explicit enough definition to be useful. And you can sort of see it in medicine, a lot of other things. You know, there's some conditions, you know, they're just syndromes, and they call them a disease. They'll say like schizophrenia, like it has one cause, and it doesn't, like it's one kind of disease. No, it isn't. It's just a collection of symptoms that could be caused by lots of different things. So anyway, love is just a bogus word. On its face, it's just bogus. It just doesn't have any explicit definition. It's a mushy, wishy-washy, useless as a concept for communication, where terror, horror, empathy, these are all very describable concepts, and very definable in just a sentence. So it's just a bogus comparison, and I think it's a valid point to make that we use this word to glorify some sort of vague idea of what love is, to hold something up as if it has magic powers, because we allow it to be a catch-all for anything good. You know, and a lot of it's not good. I mean, so if you look at a lot of what love is, it's just lust. And then you can look at the possessive love, which is completely ungenerous, that has nothing to do with giving anything. It just has to do with using and taking and possessing and owning. Certainly hostile to any kind of glorifiable emotional state. You know, who wants the love of a homicidal, murderous, wife-beaten, crazy fuck? Yeah, no thank you. Love isn't a good word in that context. And again, the usury of this word, it's empty. It doesn't mean anything. Let's talk about our attachments. Let's talk about our addictions. Let's talk about, what happens to us through the progression of our relationships to things, what attracts us and what repulses us, and what our ego demands, and what our dignity, our sense of comfort, our stability in the world demands. Sometimes you do things, you care about things, just because you want resolution. You want to feel like everything's okay. So you want somebody else to be okay so you can feel okay. So again, it becomes a selfish emotion. But why do this? Why play a game defending a word that has no definition? Why do this? This guy concedes in the video here, right about here somewhere. He basically says, okay, the word doesn't have a definition. And then he goes on talking about like it's a valid word. And what's the point of that? What is the point of saying the word has no definition and then defending its use? What the hell is wrong with my mouse? This is really irritating. It's dead. It really shouldn't be. These batteries should be fine. This is not good. Yeah, I can't turn the video. God, I can't. I really can't win. Today's just not one of these days where you go, hey, I'm winning. No, I am not winning today. So what do I do? I don't know, hit the space bar.
Empathy when you don't really get the terror horrible state someone else is in, but it's also a lack of empathy when you don't really get the wonderful state that someone is in. But at the end of the day, as I say, I don't think any of us have any information or have complete information to say categorically that any set of feelings don't exist.
Well, that's not the argument, right? I mean, My Misery and Me explicitly said in the video that we have these classes of feelings, that we have emotional states. He's just claiming that you can't use this one word to define these emotional states. It's just bogus, because they're very different emotional states for each person. What they put into this, what emotional states they put into this category of love is so divergent that the word is meaningless as communication. It has no meaning as a word to use in communication. You want to hold it to yourself? You want to play with it in your room? Well, go ahead. I'm just saying, as soon as you use it in communication, you're saying absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. I mean, love means I love my mother. Love means some drunk going, I love you, man, I love you. Love means, some guy trying to get into a girl's pants, What is, this is not a rational use word. Oh, come on, mouse.
That's, argument from ignorance, evidence of absence, or whatever, all kinds of objections to that. And I also think that it overvalues our ability to communicate our emotions to each other. Don't want to bring this up again. This horse has been flogged to death. But that's kind of the conclusion I drew from my exploration of antinatalism. You can't really debate an issue where even the most basic assumptions are not held in common. If two people...
Well, this is the truth. That's right. So why are you defending this word? So here you say that you don't accept antinatalism because you're recognizing there's no common ground for discussion. Well, I mean, it doesn't change anything. I mean, it doesn't change the rightness or wrongness in the end of procreation, or whether it is or is not ethical. You're just saying you don't measure ethics the same way. You think that what you feel like doing is something you're allowed to do, and I argue that no, you're obligated to impact the world in a constructive way, and that nothing constructive will come of your prodigy. They will suffer and die, and some of them will do it likely, some percentage of them will do it in some horrific way that will never be justified by whatever joys the others experience. And you either argue that or you don't argue that. You either say, oh no, the little walks in the sunsets and the little joy moments somehow make up for the horrors. And again, we can go back through these analogies, but if I'm saying that if I can give a parent the choice, some parent who's facing their 6-year-old kid having cancer, and I give them the choice to give up all the extravagance of their life and go to bread and water minimums. Not horrible, but nothing glorious ever again. They'll take it to spare their child that suffering.
Believe two completely irreconcilable things, and they both have reasons to believe them, then one can only assume that there's some fundamental difference there that sort of prevents them from finding enough common ground to compare ideas.
Yeah, we already found out what the fundamental difference is. You think that the Holocaust has been erased as a bad thing because it's over. Once it's over, it doesn't exist anymore. No one has to account for it. It's not part of the price paid. You really have no appreciation for suffering whatsoever. You just don't think it matters. It doesn't matter enough. And you think that somehow achieving some silly, idiotic goal like I won a gold medal in the Olympics is somehow a triumph. Sorry. I fail to see any logic.
Again, that's what I think happened in my exploration of antinatalism. I was running up against people whose...
Well, I think you were a preposterous explorer, okay? I mean, I think you were walking backwards with a blindfold on going, no, 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 no. So, yeah, that kind of exploration, you're probably not going to find anything, okay? You're not going to get anywhere. You're likely just to bang into things, and that's all you did. You walked through the the logic shop, with your senses turned off by your refusal to accept a single argument, to hear the arguments even, let alone respond to them.
Life experiences, or whose opinions, or whose metaphysical journey had taken them to places that are completely unmapped territory for me. So if someone has drawn this conclusion, I have no means of saying that this person is wrong for being an antinatalist, any more than I have any reason to say that they're right, because at the end of the day I can't even get my head into where they are. But isn't that the point of this, though?
Well, really, I mean, it's not that difficult. The thought experiments are pretty simple. You say, well, look, there's a Frankenstein. He's making little happy kids with pink balloons that go out the front door, and he's making little miserable Frankensteins that are popping out the back door. The Frankensteins are horribly miserable. The little pink girl chasing balloony things are comfortable in their little blissful moments here and there, but they're not accomplishing anything. Okay, they're just satisfying needs that don't need to exist. They're not saving the universe. They're not preventing something's suffering. They're not doing anything that needs doing. And you have this price being paid. That's just not complicated.
Ultimately, we can't walk around in someone else's shoes. I'm often fascinated by people whose ideas repel me, but I suppose it's just I'm fascinated by something that I find completely mysterious or incomprehensible to me.
Yeah, well, whatever. You say incomprehensible. Like I said, what is so incomprehensible about value utilitarianism? I mean, just recognizing that the value is in the sentient experience. I mean, that doesn't sound like that's so very hard to imagine. And that all you're trying to do is create an economy of satisfaction, that we gain satisfaction, we can get it. I can be satisfied just because of my diet and because of my habits. One little tiny treat, a little bag of potato chips or something, that's like a banquet or something. It all depends on your position. And so if we can generate our satisfaction at a minimum cost, well, it just makes rational sense to do that, rather than have the extravagant queen who just feels the pee under the 43 mattresses kind of problem, right? Why buy the 43 mattresses if you don't need to? Why create a human being that needs 43 mattresses? I mean, you can't understand just simplistic, obvious value math. The problem is that you think there's something else happening here. You think there's something else besides a replicating molecule, 4 billion years of carnage wars to develop tool-equipped gladiators to fight in a war that has absolutely no purpose. I mean, we're fighting for the sake of fighting to create better gladiators, and that's it. There's nothing else happening here now. You think there is, but you won't tell us what that little magic something else is. You just think it's there. You just say, I think it's out there. So I'm the one who's left not understanding. You're giving me nothing to understand. You're giving me no roadmap to the little... You're just saying, it's out there. Off the paper over there is a big, huge pile of purpose and value. No. Not good enough.
What motivates somebody to stay angry at the world for 30 years? I've seen people that are like that. One of my best friends is like that. I don't know why he's like that. I don't think I'll ever understand it. But based on how he's run his life, I can only assume that he has his reasons for feeling the way he feels.
I guess he'd probably be able to articulate that to you, but why don't you say right to his face that you think he's just been angry at the world for 30 years for no reason, or he's staying that way for not a good enough reason. I don't, what does that even mean? What exactly does this angry at the world thing look like? You mean he's hostile to the grotesque sloppiness of how a human race is living? He finds it offensive and disgusting and insufficiently efficient? I mean, you can just keep arguing that people are somehow supposed to just acquiesce to whatever exists to get their whatever out of their life and then die. And that somehow they don't have any mission statement that says, do I want this to continue? Do I want things to continue to be subjected to this mediocrity? I mean, anybody who believes it's mediocre sort of has an obligation to do something about the mediocrity, or they're just sentencing the next sucker to have to endure it. I mean, you can't get that logic? I mean, people sort of do need to be kind of mad at the world, or the world ain't going to get any better.
I feel the way I feel because of reasons about the world, about the universe, about life itself, about love, about depression, about agony, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, all that sort of thing. Again, so you just threw a bunch of words together, and you already conceded some of these words don't have any meaning. So what's the point of that? What's the point of attempting communication if you're going to overtly say a word doesn't have any explicit or rational definition, a common definition, and yet you're just going to use it? What's the point of it?
And I presume that other people have their reasons. None of us have any information or have sufficient information with which to conclude that certain feelings do not exist.
Well, again, so you say none of us have any reasons, none of us have any more knowledge, and none of us have any more perspective. I mean, that's just bullshit. All opinions are not the same. Some are more informed, and I think it's just completely bogus for you to concede the biggest problem with this word is the fact that it's a word. We shouldn't be trying to describe with one word all of the mechanisms of attachment that people are capable of being motivated by. There's lots of mechanisms that attach people to things, okay? And there's no point in putting them in one category and calling them love. That's just pretty goddamn stupid. Because some of them are just bigotry, some of them are just racism, some of them are speciesism, some of them are built out of incredibly negative things. I mean, some people love things not because they like it, it's because they hate everything else. I mean, it's not even that the thing earned their appreciation, it's just everything else sucks.
If they didn't exist, we wouldn't even be able to talk about them.
Oh, shit. If they didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to talk about them. So if we have a bogus word not describing a real thing, like spontaneous, spontaneous now does exist because we have the word, and the word says it exists, and so therefore it's just self-justifying. So anything that has a word automatically has to exist. I mean, that, again, what is that? That's not logical. Okay, the point being made here is this idea of this fluffy, culturally controlled wild card word of love is used to always take a bad hand or bad this or bad that, and they just smear some love butter on it, okay? And it's just bullshit. It's just a lie and a canard that this word gets to and it's like even the life word for most people. It's this fluff, you just write it, and you could almost write it in fluffy cloud text, right? Just get a font, fluffy cloud font. Life, it's little fluffy, happy, okay? Because that's what people have been conditioned, and that's destroys the clarity, the reasonableness, the accuracy, the validity of the word is destroyed once the definition isn't coherent to the word. And love doesn't have a coherent definition. It just has some sort of heart bullshit. It's just made out of bullshit. It's made out of Christmas cards and birthday cards and bullshitisms and tritisms and insincerities all over the fucking place. I mean, it's just an obnoxious concept. Oh, shit. Let's talk about the real deal of what attaches people to other people and things in some sort of rational way, and then we'll better understand what it is that drives us, what motivates us, and why we're motivated. And then you're going to get back into that dark reality of the fact that it's a DNA molecule that's basically telling you what you love. An ignorant, dumb, mechanical molecule. And it's doing it based on all these things that really are quite disgusting. Racism, nationalism, nepotism. Nepotism is disgusting. Okay? It's rationally, logically, sensibly disgusting. It's disgusting that people think their own kids are better than other people's kids. It's disgusting. Okay? It is so rationally and logically vacant as a concept. Okay, that's enough.